guys, I'm Soli, and welcome to the very first episode of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Unsolved but Not Unheard. I'm very excited to have you guys here with me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so thank you again for tuning in. I hope that this is a pretty decent experience overall for me. And yeah, I want to start this podcast off with a little introduction about me so you guys can get to know me. I want to talk about why I decided to create this platform and what it will be used for. So, I am of pure Purepecha descent, and for about the last year and a half, give or take, I've been doing what I can to reconnect with my culture, such as reading up on a bunch of historical articles and books to better understand my culture and just where I come from, along with attempting to reach out to my collective so that I can get myself involved in community events that are coming up. I've also been attempting heavy on the attempting. It's really hard to do. Attempting to learn how to speak Pure. And yeah, I felt encouraged to start this reconnection journey through native TikTok creators. Actually, they talked. They had a lot of conversations about how to reconnect, and they said that there's a lot more to being indigenous than just claiming ancestry. You have to give back to your community. So that left me to ponder on what I can do to help not only my community, but other communities as well. That's when I decided to create this podcast based off a topic that really resonated with me: missing and murdered Indigenous women. Now, some of you guys might be wondering why that resonates with me. Um, and I guess it's because I've been through some really difficult stuff in my life, and I honestly could not have gone through that without the advocacy that I received from certain people. And their advocacy is what inspired me to be an advocate for those in similar situations as well. So that's why I'm here before you guys, talking on this issue. It is my hope that this podcast will create a platform for Indigenous voices to be heard worldwide. The main focus of this podcast is MMIWs, but it's more so to bring awareness to the injustices that surround this case. So, yeah, moving on to what I do outside of this podcast. I am a full-time student. I am currently working on getting my degree in criminal justice, and I work in the US Army as a 12 Bravo combat engineer. I did 3 years in active duty, and I'm finally finishing up my final year in the National Guard. And once that is up, I would have served a total of 6 years. And yep. So enough about me. That was it for my introduction. Now I'm going to give a short synopsis about what the MMIW movement is. I know that some of you guys do know what it is, but I know for sure that there's some people listening here today who have not who have no idea what this movement is. So just a short little summary as to what it is. Um, so MMIW is a movement that was created in response to the outrageous numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous women. The goal of the movement is to bring awareness to the issue through activism, since MMIW cases are never covered in mainstream media, and in most cases, they do not receive the resources or justice that they deserve. Um, in comparison to the rest of the population in both Canada, the US, Mexico, Indigenous women and children experience violence at a disproportionate rate. It is infuriating what the numbers are. Uh, this movement is usually represented by the color red and by a red handprint. So those that are showing support towards the movement will either wear red, or they'll wear they'll also wear a red handprint over their mouth. Hence why I have a little red hand in my logo, actually. So now that we got that out the way, I want to start getting into today's case. So today I'll be covering the brutal murder of 32-year-old Guadalupe Campanur Tapia. I'd like to start with some background information on Guadalupe, as I believe that it is very important that we remember these victims as a person and not just a victim or a case. Um, they were somebody's daughter, they were somebody's sister, they were loved. They were loved, and we need to remember their accomplishments in life as well. So I want to preface this part by saying that Guadalupe was an absolute badass. She has quite the resume in terms of what she has achieved in her life, and you guys will totally understand my sentiments as we go through this case. So, Guadalupe was a Purepecha woman who was known within her community for her activism with issues that pertain to the environment, her indigenous community, and women's rights. Those in her community described her as a cheerful, kind, and brave person. She was the kind of woman that consistently swam against the current of the norms expected of her in her community. For instance, she was the very first female to join the ranks of the Forest Rangers in Cheran, Michoacan. I hope I pronounced that town right. We'll see. She worked very hard to get into that position, since the Forest Rangers in that area were not too keen on letting women allowed in the ranks. She trained very hard to prove her worth to get accepted. And all that hard work definitely paid off. Guadalupe quickly became an asset to her team, and that earned her a lot of respect. To this day, many of her fellow Rangers still give praise to her bravery and dedication to the job. After her work with the Forest Rangers, Guadalupe went on to create, I'm going to mispronounce this, so please bear with me on this. She created Ronda Comunitaria. Decent attempt. Anyways, and the type of work that she did, and the organization was dedicated to protecting the community and the forest. That being said, the type of work that she did, she was very committed to defending the environment of her ancestral lands. I'm actually gonna put a trigger warning right here. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put a trigger warning right here. So if you guys don't want to listen to some heavy stuff, I'd recommend skipping about a minute ahead. Um, yeah, to skip ahead a minute. Unfortunately, Guadalupe was found dead on January 16th of 2018 in Chilchota, Michoacan. Her body was found on the side of the road of Carapan Playa Azul Highway in an advanced stage of decomposition. Her body laid supine, naked, with bruises all over her neck and arms, and no skin on her face. It was also stated that her hair was pulled slightly off her head and laid next to her in the bushes. Her clothing also laid next to her, still intact and not ripped. Thankfully, her personal items, like her purse, were with her. So that helped a lot because the police were able to quicken the process of identifying her body. So they were able to call her family, who realized she was missing, and her two brothers were sent down to the morgue to identify her body, and they were able to do so uh, by a tattoo that she had on her finger. She had a tattoo of a tooth, and that was the giveaway for them. Um, a medical report confirmed that she had been sexually assaulted. Sorry, my notes got a little fucked up here. Yeah, that she had been sexually assaulted prior to her death, and her cause of death was due to mechanical. I'm gonna mispronounce this word. Medical words. Am I right? She was strangled. She was strangled. I'm sorry, I'm giving up on that word. She was strangled. Um, the report also stated that she had been killed 26 to 48 hours prior to her body being discovered, which then put her time of death timeline at around the 15th or the 14th of January. The medical examination also revealed that she was attacked by, uh, or sorry, I misspoke. I'm reading the wrong lines. Um, there was an there was an assumption by the police that she was attacked by at least two people because she was known to be strong, and Guadalupe, through her training with the forest rangers, was trained to defend herself. That's where that assumption came from. Unfortunately, or that assumption would later be proved wrong, and I'll get more into that later. Which leads me to elaborate on what happened to Guadalupe before her death. Uh, so, back around 2012, 2011, 2013, she was advocating for the forests in her surrounding area, defending them from illegal loggers that were run by an organized crime group, or you can call them a cartel. Either or works. Uh, but yeah, she was defending her forest from their illegal logging because it was affecting uh, their ability, like Shoran's ability to maintain their own natural resources. Unfortunately, they could not get help from their local government at the time because they were aiding the cartels. So they were corrupt. And with all this advocacy and activism that Guadalupe did, it actually got to a point where she managed to get Choran to become a place that was self governed. They used their indigenous right to self govern themselves. And with that, they were able to put up these community security patrols and such and get those loggers out of their town. Goodbye. Now, now that you'll have that background information, um, it is because of that that many believed that Guadalupe was killed by the cartel, that it was a message sent, because at the time they really had no idea who killed her. You know, the police weren't telling them too much as like what they found out and stuff. um, but yeah, so the main theory was that Guadalupe was killed by the cartels, and that is not the case, though. Despite how popular that theory was, thankfully there was enough evidence at the scene of the crime that allowed police officers to identify the culprit of the crime. His name is Primitivo S. Um, Apparently, according to an article written by Cuatro Odier, Michoacan. I am so sorry for butchering that again. He had a sentimental relationship with Guadalupe, and unfortunately, I that's all the information I was able to find that guy. Like, I couldn't even get a last name. I could not find any more information pertaining to what his sentencing was either. All I got was a first name and the last initial. I do have a picture of him, which I'll show you guys. But even then, it's his face is blurred out, so really can't tell much. I'm not sure if that's just how things are done in Mexico or what, because I am in the US, so maybe it's just something you guys do differently. You know, here we have access to, um, it's pretty easy to access someone's criminal records along with getting a mugshot and such. So maybe that's why I couldn't find anything on him. So anyways, um, all I was able to find out pertaining to this guy was just that the evidence found at the scene allowed the police to conduct an operation in the city of Tijuana, uh, in Baja California, which was the known location of where Primitivo went to hide after the murder. That event is actually what led to his arrest. Um, and that is about it for her case. I would like to end this portion of the podcast with a quote from Guadalupe describing how her work made her feel. I'm on a hill and I feel full, happy, because to be doing this is to do something important for my community. End quote. Sharan lost a beautiful soul who was a pillar to their community. My heart goes out to her family and friends. I hope that Guadalupe's story can help to fuel the fire to combat the absurdly large amount of femicide that happens in Mexico. I pray for all of us to have the same amount of bravery and dedication for our communities as Guadalupe did. And may we have the strength to bring about change to the issues that ails our community. So now that I got that now that we've gone through her story and stuff, I want to move on to resources. Um, so, down below in the description, I have added resources to help y'all better understand the crisis that is MMIW. And I also listed down resources to help with anything pertaining to it as well. There's also a few tip lines as well, so please check out those links and the tip lines in the description below. Although this podcast, although the main focus of this podcast is to bring more awareness and exposure to MMIW cases, I want to also use this platform to support Native owned businesses. So if you have a business and want a little shout out, then please feel free to send me an email with either the link to your business or pictures of your wares with a little explanation as to who you are, what you're selling, type of thing. Um, and yeah, that being said, I want to give a quick shout out to Urban Native Area for this dope t-shirt. I do believe that this shirt is in limited supply. This shirt's a collab, by the way. They collaborated with another native-owned clothing brand called Section 35. Hence the words, the hummingbird is Urban Native Era. Um, So if y'all do want this shirt or y'all want to check them out, I added their link in the bio below. Had a weird voice crack there. Damn. Um, and yeah, let's support indigenous businesses, decolonize our wardrobes and such. So please feel free to hit me up, so that you guys can get a little shout out for your business as well. Um, So that's a wrap for the very first episode of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Unsolved but Not Unheard. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for taking the time out of your day and to give this podcast a listen. I hope that you guys enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. And if y'all are looking for updates, then follow me on Instagram at mmmiw.ubnu.podcast. And I also, if you guys have any recommendations for cases, if you guys yourselves want to get on here too to share your story, like bring awareness to a case currently going on, please feel free to hit me up in the email as well, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. So, yeah, until next time, goodbye.